I recently made a video called Why Invest in Watches, and after endorsing why I feel it's a good idea to invest in watches and why I think they make for great appreciating assets, I thought it would make sense for me to share my thoughts on how to invest in watches, the do's and the don'ts. Investing in watches and making money is quite a simple process in theory because it simply involves buying something for a price, say £10,000, and then selling that item somewhere in the future for considerably more than what you paid for it, say £20,000, making £10,000 in profit. But what's important is having a certain degree of confidence that the item that you've bought is interesting, desirable, collectible enough to someone in the future, so they'll have the desire to buy it for the money that you're hoping to achieve for it. As you would have learned from my other videos, it's all about supply and demand. Easy, right? But very few things in life are absolutely certain. So how do you get enough savvy and education to put the odds in your favour of a successful outcome? I'll tell you. If we're meeting for the first time, I'm Marcelo from Prestige Watches. I love helping watches to make money when selling watches and save money when buying watches. I also love talking about the watch industry and watch business and watch psychology and marketing. Now on to business. Buying a watch is straightforward, but investing in the right watch that will appreciate in price over time can be tricky. So I'm going to help you with some simple tips. Firstly, I do recommend only investing in watches if you have a genuine interest and passion for watches, because without passion you'll quickly lose interest in the market developments which are often essential to making a successful watch purchase. And there's a few different ways to make money in watches. One is a longer term watch investment, which is a watch that will be bought and then retained, where you park your money in the investment and forget about it. Maybe you'll wear it, but then you sell it way down the line, many years ahead, years, maybe even decades later. Then there are shorter term investment watches that could be bought and sold instantly or maybe just within a couple of months. Both can make you money, but the longer term one would most likely see your asset appreciate to a much higher degree. And then the shorter term one will, for the most part, see smaller returns, but you can continue to work it and keep on working it to build a decent nest of watch sale related profits. One is harder work as it is busier. The other one, you do nothing but sit back and wait. Now in this video you'll hear me refer to the right watch, and that's very important. You must know that I'm not talking about all watches. In fact, the vast majority of watches are not investment suitable, asset worthy watches. In fact, I'll be so bold as to say that 98% of watches out there will lose money after buying and wearing them, and they will not make you money. And even the remaining 2% of watches that might appreciate in value, if not bought correctly, the right price, condition, accessories, they could still lose you money, so you need to be careful. Another important factor in this investment process is investing in yourself as a person, as an individual, and that is learning and education and equipping yourself with the knowledge of what watches are interesting, desirable and collectible, and then having the business savvy and acumen to understand the market and how the supply and demand works, so that you have this certain degree of confidence that you'll be able to achieve your desired selling price from the future marketplace and hopefully a hungry watch buying audience waiting to buy your watch. A big part of the buying and selling involves doing your market research on what is hot and what is not, and giving people what they want at the price that they're willing to pay. I do have some people come to me asking me to sell their watch for them, and when I ask the price that they're hoping to get for it, they're kind of living in a bit of a dream world, because there is a big difference to what people hope to get for their watch and what someone is prepared to pay for it. In fact, a watch that is up for sale will only achieve what someone is prepared to pay for it. So you need to make sure that you're buying watches that people are prepared to pay top money for. And you also need to know that with any investment there's a potential for gains and for losses. The pricing of watches is driven by the market, and as interest and demand for watches can increase and decrease, so can the price of watches. They can potentially rise and fall, just like stocks and shares and bonds and foreign exchange and precious metals and property. They all have the ability to boom and to crash. So be careful and invest smart. And I'm going to go through these quickly, so pay attention, grab a pen and a pad, grab a cup of tea, let's get into it. Number one, buy the right watches. It isn't as easy or straightforward as it sounds. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But look at past watch related data, past and present. Look at market trends, hot watches and styles. Consider the second bounce of the ball. What will be hot in the near future? Sport watches still, maybe big watches, small watches, dress watches, gold watches, other precious metals. Can you predict future styles? Look at interest, where's the interest going? Look at demand, look at collector watches, iconic watches. Look at historical watches, look at rare watches, limited edition watches, watches made with manufacturer errors. Look at interesting watches made in low production numbers, made with manufacturing quirks. Look at tropical dials. Consider the condition. The better condition, the better. The watch must be all original, all the parts, no Franken watches. Look for full sets. Collectors love this, but they need to be genuine full sets, not Franken sets. Details here matter. Look for interesting provenance, look at historical significance, do your research, watch tutorials and videos. Mechanical watches are more collectible than quartz watches for the most part, but there are some pretty cool quartz watches out there, so if you do your research you may get lucky, but don't rule quartz out entirely. Read books, speak with experts, get advice, get guidance. Be careful with gold watches when buying new. Pre-owned is often the way to go with gold. Always check the pricing of gold watches on the secondary market to see what the comparison price is for a like-for-like watch, new versus pre-owned. The depreciation hit on a new gold watch can be quite scary. Next, buy the right watches from the right people and the right places. You need to find your sweet spot somewhere from some or all of these buying options and locations. Buy privately. I've got a video coming on this for best practices. Look for good deals with authorised dealers. Buy newly released watches directly from the brand. E-commerce and many brands are making this move online. Do good deals with grey market dealers. Hustle with dealers on the secondary market. Learn about auctions, make friends with watch wholesalers, join forums and chats and make friends and look for good deals. Learn about and spend time on marketplaces like Chrono24 and eBay. This is where you'll find possible watches. A simple rule: when you buy a watch, you buy the seller. So look for good, reputable sellers who are trustworthy, friendly to deal with, knowledgeable, approachable, have good trust scores, are discoverable online and not elusive or hiding away. They should be ideally registered companies. Do your research on the company, check out the company online, check the company owners, the directors. Buy safe. Don't take your chances, trust your instincts here. Next, it's not just about buying the right watch, it's about buying them at the right price. It's sometimes said that you make money when you buy the watch. And this is kind of true, especially if you want to sell the watch quite quickly after buying it, but it's not as critical if it's a longer term investment. Anyone can buy a great watch at above market price or even at the market price, but the key to maximising your profits is buying for below market price. Anyone can buy a £10 note for £11. You want to buy that £10 note for £8. This is where your business skills as a buyer will come into play, so that you can earn a decent and reasonable profit out of your investment. Next, don't be easily fooled. When buying a top quality investment watch, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Don't be lured into a sticky web of deceit and deception. If there are 10 of the watch that you want to buy on Chrono24, all trading at around £20,000, be very cautious if there's a watch available for £15,000. Now, it's not impossible that great deals do arise, but be wise and be savvy and don't be fooled. I'd recommend that once you get the watch, take it to be checked by a horologist or an industry professional who can inspect and validate the authenticity of the watch and all its parts. They can inspect the movement and ensure it's all genuine and above board. Next, be mindful about when you're going to sell, because it will affect the selling price. Do you want to sell straight away, or within a few weeks, or within a few months, or years, or maybe even decades? Remember that many top-end investment watches will simply appreciate with the passing of time. Watches will blow up in a hype bubble sometimes, like we're seeing now at the moment with the Rolex OP41 Tiffany blue dial, which has an RRP of around £5,000, and they're trading now at 30, 40, even £50,000. And fair play if the dealer can get that price, but be careful if it's you buying this watch as an investment watch. Some watches will simply rocket up in price as a result of an opinion from an online influencer, so Be mindful of how the market moves, why is it moving and when is it moving. Next, don't spend more than you can afford to lose. Spend only what you can comfortably afford and never spend more than you can afford to lose in its entirety. Physical goods or assets in the terms of this video can always be stolen, broken, damaged, lost, awarded away in a divorce settlement, all of which are bad. If you can only afford to lose £5,000 and you buy a £10,000 watch, you're going to be stressed out, you're going to be worrying about the resale value. But if you buy an £8,000 watch and you can potentially afford to lose £10,000, you'll sleep soundly at night knowing that you're well within your comfort zone. Peace of mind goes a long way in this game. Next, get wise and smart with your finances to help kick off potential investments. This is something here for the aspiring investors with less disposable income and perhaps a lower amount of disposable working capital looking to get into the game. And I must advise here, I haven't done any of these, but I know it's a thing and I'd recommend seeking financial advice. But you could potentially leverage creative financing to help you buy an investment watch. Use other people's money, and there's a book out there about this, so maybe go and read it. Do your own research. Consider low interest personal loans, low interest credit cards, PayPal credit. These can help you kick off your journey. And nowadays many watch sellers offer payment plan options for buying watches they have to sell. But I highly recommend you don't get into debt. Pay off your loans before the interest time kicks in, which means you must have sold the watch you've purchased before interest time and paid off the watch in full and have made some money. Don't do anything you're not comfortable with. Don't do anything that's outside of your financial grasp or could get you into financial difficulties at any point. And worst case, if you're just starting out, save and save and save and compound your money to get the first watch and kick off your investment process and begin buying and selling and compounding investment interests. Play safe, play wise, play smart. Next, learn how the market works. The watch market moves a bit like the stock market. Trends, social media, influencers, economies, trade deals between countries, foreign exchange, material costs, shipping costs, microeconomics, macroeconomics, recessions, sentiment, good news and bad news around the world. It can all impact on the watch market. Next, understand the various pricing levels based on how and where a watch is being sold. First, there's the MSRP, the manufacturer's suggested retail price. This is the price you'll see new watches selling for in the shops, usually by ADs, authorised dealers, who are licensed to sell the watches from top brands. Then you have the wholesale price, which is a new watch which is being sold by a wholesale store at a discounted rate. Think Costco. Then you have grey market pricing, which is private businesses, normally who are not officially authorised to sell top brand watches but can and do. Then you have secondary market pricing, which is just a mixed grill of new and pre-owned watches being sold by dealers and stores and individuals. Then you have private sellers and flippers, and you have dealer to dealer trade pricing. You need to be aware of all these different levels and try to understand how the adding of people's margins affects the selling price of a watch. Think of it a bit like a game of snakes and ladders where a watch is bought and it's flipped and that person makes £1,000 and then a dealer sells it on and makes another £1,000 on top of that. Then an individual wears it and sells it on to a dealer and breaks even on the sale. Then that dealer sells it on and makes £500. And then the private individual who buys that watch runs into financial difficulties and sells it at a big loss to a dealer because he needs fast and quick cash, so the pricing goes down the ladder and then it starts again and builds up with different people's margins. Next, buy with your head, don't buy with your heart. Don't suffer FOMO. Don't buy anything for fear of missing out, because this is a complex, and in the psychological sense it's a social anxiety born out of exposure to outside influences, especially on social media, and it's a marker of insecurity. So assert yourself against the powerful pull of social media. If you're falling prey to FOMO impulses, then you're most likely being driven to outside influences and failing to think independently. So don't worry about what others have, don't worry about what your friends think, don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Next, look for value. Look for undervalued, well-priced watches. Find great deals, learn how to negotiate, then negotiate enthusiastically to get good deals. Hustle. It's okay to think out the box sometimes when everyone is looking at Rolex sports models maybe. You might find great deals on pre-owned solid gold Longines or Cartiers that are hugely undervalued. When everyone is obsessed with AP, check out excellently priced Vacheron Constantins or Breguets or JLCs. While there's a frenzy on Patek Philippe, I'll bet there's some amazing Blancpains or Gerard Perregaux or Breguets or H. Mosers or Bulgari Octos kicking around. And don't forget independent watchmakers too. F.P. Journe, Laurent Ferrier, Kari Voutilainen, Philippe Dufour, Greubel Forsey, MB&F, Kari Voutilainen, and of course Roger Smith. And there are others, but these are some of the more famous ones. Now the watches from these independents aren't easy or cheap to come by, but great investment watches they are. Next up, study what makes a good investment watch. Learn what features you should look out for when considering purchasing a watch for investment purposes. And I made a video on this called What Makes a Watch Go Up in Price. You'll need to watch that video if you haven't already, and I'll leave a link at the end of this video. You need to look out for as many of the 7 points as possible. And if you're getting any value from this, please hit the like button now so I know. Check out my website, download the free guide that's there. Cheers and see you on the next one.